Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the NobCast. It's another day. It's another Manchester United defeat. You know the drill by now. We've got a depressed Gasky for us today, who's hopefully going to have a massive rant at Ten Hag. And if he doesn't, I will, because this guy is absolutely frauding his way into Premier League management. I have no idea how he is still here, and we shall be discussing that. So I've already got Liam in the chat, who did suggest to Gasky that his Liverpool would be beating Gasky's United. So we're obviously discussing the game against Liverpool, the Northwest Derby, as it's rather terribly dubbed. The issues therein, why were United so easy to beat, why are the same issues still coming up, Gasky's thoughts on Ten Hag, Gasky's maybe updated predictions, and obviously, because this is a City and United podcast, we're talking about Manchester City as well, and the recent debate that has been sparked in the Manchester City football community, R.E. Philip Foden. And obviously we've got some really good viewer questions as well, like some very, very good ones, to be honest, so make sure to stick around until the end for that. We'll be here for around 30 to 40 minutes, that sort of vibe, depending on how long Gasky rants, in fairness. Jack is absolutely correct. Gasky has had a haircut. El Baldico, says Liam.
Not quite. We're getting there.
That is outrageous. And Tom already comes in. There's no phone drama. He's just well, indeed, we will be discussing not the drama, the dilemma of that. But Gasky, how do you feel about the fact that you sat on this podcast, which is award-winning in my brain, and said that you were going to win 2-0, and you said
2-1 actually.
Apologies. And you said that United were going to finish fourth. And you said Ten Hag was going to last the season. Because I got a text from you at about 2-0 down. So, and I was saying...
No, yes, my text was like, I want to retract what I said.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
tell before we talk about the game itself, or maybe we can do it within that conversation. What are your updated thoughts on this bald guy? On this manager? There you have the Manchester United Football Club.
He's becoming muddied in my books now.
Becoming.
You know, you can have hope. You know, these signs, but I've never known a team be this much dross. How it could be so look like they're going somewhere, and then it just capitulate because of a Brazilian fraud in midfield. I just couldn't get my head around it.
Yeah. Come on, keep going. Rants.
You had first 20 or so minutes. You know, didn't look too bad. You know, Liverpool got in that one time offside, fine. They were beating the midfield. They were creating chances, and you could see potentially something was coming. And then as soon as Casemiro just made a horrendous mistake, it just went downhill from that. And I just don't get why he'll play such an aggressive way when you have midfielders that can't pass a ball.
Or run, as it turns out.
Or run. Exactly. You know, Mainu isn't the quickest, and obviously Casemiro isn't either. So you've got them two in midfield, and you're pushing this 4-2-4, which he seems to do. Bruno's not the fastest anymore. He's not going to be able to get back in time, and they're just going to go past you. McAllister and Gravenberch had a field day because they just had as much space as they wanted. So I just don't get my head around why you'd play that way.
You know, and I can't get my head around. Sorry to interject, Gasky. Just because you've clearly outlined their structural issues.
Yes,
because let's be honest, you know, Mainu isn't shit. And whilst Casemiro isn't past his prime, he's not shit. These players can still pass. But But so clear, that tells me, obviously Casemiro was terrible in that first half, but that tells me that this is more about a systemic issue rather than an individual one.
Definitely, because like you say, Mainu is a very good player, and you want him to get that ball in their half. You know, he doesn't want to pick it up in front of the back four. You know, that's Casemiro's job, really, to pick up the back four and find him, or find, you know, in between the lines. Because I think there was one moment that Mainu did where he got given the ball from Onana, he spinned the ball, and he played it through the eye of a needle to Bruno, and it was 4-on-4. you know, and they create and a chance could come from it. But I think half the time it was going to Casemiro, Liverpool were pressing, and he was either giving it away, falling over it, or just then booting it over the top, hoping for the best.
Mm.
So it's like I don't. That's what I can't understand with the whole system. The system clearly is what Manu did in one respect, you know, to Bruno, but then you're giving it to the other player who should be doing that, and he's just booting the ball away. So I don't know if it's a player that can't do it, and he's still pushing to play this way when the player can't play that role,
Mm.
or it's genuinely just that's what he's asked him to do, which I can't get my head around.
It's clearly direction, in my opinion. It's clearly instruction, and that was really evidence when in the second half, because Casemiro went off at half time, didn't he? I'm not
That Collier came on.
Yeah, exactly. A Collier is it called? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Collier came on, so now the midfield is Collier main or whatever. So, but Ten Hag didn't change how the midfield were operating in the game.
No, he played pretty much exactly the same way.
Yeah.
With Collier instead, who was much better. Like he was getting up pitch and he was getting involved. A lot of his passes were very much off. But again, everyone's was, so you can't really point fingers. But then it's like you're still asking for it. They were still getting so many chances. There was one where Soboslai was just dicking about with the ball, and you thought you could have just bagged it, could have scored.
Mm.
So I just can't get my head around why you'd keep just playing this stupid, risky game. It's why our goal difference is horrendous, because you're just playing this risky game when they're clearly not ready to score bags of goals. So play a bit more conservative while they create chances, and then you can start risking it more when you're more. You know, they do well in cups because cup games are that type of game, just end to end, and that's why they're so good. That's probably why people go United win cups, because they'll play this stupid way, and it'll work. But in the league, it won't, because teams like, for example, the Fulham game, they'll just sit back, they'll wait for you to go mental, and then they'll just go and break, which is what Fulham did plenty of times and what happened last season. So like I said to you, all we can hope is that this Ugarte is the second coming of Christ, because he's going to have to be in this midfield to be able to. He's going to have to do a lot of running if he's going to keep playing this stupid way. So,
absolutely.
I think another stat that topped it all off for me was Ahmad came on in the 69th minute, I think, and he had the second most touches inside the box in the game.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
And and there was instances with Garnacho and Rashford where they just don't want to take players on. There was I saw a clip on Twitter of a situation Rashford was in when one of his first goals for United against City, when he megs Demichelis and tapped it in. Exactly the same situation, and he turned around. And I don't know, is that confidence, or is that don't take players on, pass it around from the manager? I don't know.
No, indeed. Tom, don't worry about it. It's a title. We will be discussing Foden and whether it is a dilemma. That's the point of the title. It's a discussion that has been happening in the City community. Don't get upset. We will be discussing it. You'll be able to have your say in it later. Don't worry about it. We're currently talking about United. We'll get to City and viewer questions later. Don't worry. Nick, with a really important point here. This is something that I brought up yesterday on, I think it was a Hassam's show. He says here, Casemiro was good early in the season, but Ten Hag tactics expose the weakness. The best managers cover up their players' deficiencies. Every single player's got a deficiency. The best example I can think of is is Klopp with Trent. He maximizes his positives. He reduces the amount of times he can be isolated 1v1. Henderson would always help him out, etc., etc. Ten Hag maximizes his players' deficiencies, thereby making them fail by definition with these tactics, because as you correctly pointed out, Gasky, he presses so incredibly high, and this is something that I thought he turned a corner, because in the Community Shield I thought United played better than City, to be honest. I thought you were better than us.
Yeah,
but because you actually had some sort of compactness between the midfield and defense, that's gone.
I tell you what, who's the one player that wasn't in that team that pushes that press?
Was it Mason Mount?
Mason Mount's injured. He's not pressing from the front. No one's going to press like him from the front. I'm not saying he was the reason they lost or anything, but when you're playing this pressing, he wants to play this style consistently. You don't have the players to do it. If you haven't got a player to press from the front, if you've got one player that can do it and he's not available, you can't do it. And then you can't use probably the slowest midfielder in the league and just don't tell him to play this midfield role on his own with no support. Mainu isn't your player, like type of player who's going to, box to box run around. He's going to be absolutely shattered, which is hence the second half. He just gets pushed over by McAllister. He's probably shattered because he's running box to box consistently. You can't do it.
It's not sustainable.
It isn't. You can't do it for 90 minutes without the players. You're trying to push this to tire them out as well, but your own team can't do it, and other teams can't do it. So you can't expect them to be able to do it. Switching to it in certain areas, fine, but doing it for 90 minutes. It's why they look good for 20 minutes and then you just go to shit because you've pushed them so much in the first 20 minutes that they just can't carry on.
Yeah. Now, if this was Ten Hag's third game, like Slots, for example, this is his third game, I'd be like, you know what? He's getting used to the league.
Well, well, think about it. It is. If you look at Ten Hag's first season, we lost to Brighton, and then we got battered by Brentford, and people were questioning him. We then had was it the Arsenal game? No, was it the Liverpool game first? Liverpool game first, wasn't it? No, it was the Arsenal. I can't remember, whichever one it was. They were really good.
Oh, I see.
And they beat them. Well, they beat them, weren't they? I think it was Liverpool or Arsenal. I can't remember who they beat first. But they beat them at Old Trafford, and everyone was like, look how good they can be. They're capable of doing it. And then they went on a massive run after the City game. After they lost against City, they went on a big run over a month or so of winning every game. And that's what they're capable of doing. But if you haven't got the players to do it with, you can't do it. You've got to then change your tactics. If he has the inability to do that, then he's not a good manager. Simple as that.
Yeah. Now, and Joseph raised a good point. I want to get into the interviews because we touched on it, I think, last week, and the United fans in the chat agreed with us. I think you agree as well, Gasky, that his interviews are so frustrating.
I don't have a clue what he's going on about.
No.
And two, it's like, just own it.
Yeah.
Just own it.
It's getting... I mean, it already was embarrassing, but it's actually becoming like... It's almost like a parody at times. And Joseph says here, Ten Hag showing that not only is he delusional with his interviews, he's delusional with tactics and his own players' weaknesses. And this is what I was just saying before, just building on that. Had this been his, really early in his career, then I could sort of understand, making these mistakes. But it's the fact that we are 3 seasons in, he's making the same mistakes. This is now his squad. These are his players. There are no more excuses. I don't care that Ineos have come in and it's a new ownership.
It's nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's the exact same players who are on the pitch, and it's his exact same coaching or lack thereof. And that argument is so tragic. It's like I'm watching The Office or like an episode of The In-Betweeners, the amount of cringe that's going on, where he really thought he did a mic drop moment where he said to the journalist, "Oh, could you name these so-called mistakes?" And the journalist proceeds to wrap off
exactly, but you can list them. But
it's
this is what I mean.
funny.
I don't know how he can defend the performance though, because there was that many errors in it. Like the constant giving the ball away, the constant of passing the ball out of play was ridiculous. And that's what you should be outing your players really, and then be like, it was unacceptable, the passing, because it was.
Yeah.
So I don't get how you can say it. And then he comes out with that Harry Potter quote about Ugarte, and it's like,
what does that mean?
Yeah,
what does that
exactly.
mean?
But then he proceeds to go on about, he might not be available for, he won't be ready to start games for weeks, maybe months. You've signed a new player, and you're telling me that in a couple of months he might still not be starting. Are you for real? Like, you've signed a midfielder that's needed clearly, and you're telling me that, in a couple of months he might be ready to start. Says, how can you? What does that mean? You don't go and spend 40 million on a player and think, he's not ready to start though for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's
it's
embarrassing.
I don't get it half the time.
We had this discussion in the Discord server. I also mentioned it on I think it was Sam's channel. I think, and I said it, and I thought about it. And I don't think it's hyperbole. Ten Hag is genuinely bottom 5 managers in the Premier League. Guardiola, Slot, Brighton manager Josela, Arteta, Howe, Frank, Emery, Areola, Ange, Lopetegui, Glasner, O'Neill, Dyche, McKenna. That's 14 names. I haven't seen enough of Maresca, but I wager by the end of the season I'll think he's a superior bold coach as well.
They've already scored 6 in the game. Yeah, so that's better, as I can say.
Now, in my opinion, that's a good list. So we're talking about a bottom tier, like a lower mid-table manager, in terms of like the rest of the Premier League RE quality, managing United, and this just because I think that was like an Athletic article dropped today, and this is like a quote from that. This is from this is from like the Daily Mail, Chris Wheeler. Man United backing Ten Hag despite Liverpool debacle. New CEO Omar Barada.
I read that was before the Liverpool game as well. Just so you know, as well.
Was it?
The backy thing apparently was before the Liverpool game.
Oh, okay. So it's just because it says here, Eric is our full back and we've worked very closely together in this transfer window. We're going to continue working very closely with him to help him get the best results out of the team. But either way, if that is the mentality after the game, that I don't actually know what they are saying, because it's not going to get. This isn't a case of giving time will get better. It won't.
It's not because again, you signed players over 3 years. He spent a fortune on players he wants. So he's got. I think any manager in their third season, when people say you've got to give managers time, correct. He's got 3 years now. He's in his third year. You need to show that we're going somewhere. And if we're in a situation now where he has literally got a lineup and he's got a squad of players, and he can't get them his players, and he can't get these players to play how he wants, then he's wasted United's time, really, because there's no point.
100%. We have over 100 people watching, guys. Please, let's see if we can get to 75 likes, because again, more likes equals more viewers, and Gasky will keep coming back despite me, insulting him and making him depressed after talking about Manchester United. That game, embarrassing. Liverpool, obviously, very good as well, but they didn't have to be particularly brilliant.
I think that was what was frustrating me more. They weren't great. They weren't like immense. They were just doing what they had to do.
Yeah, they turned up.
All they had to do was go into second gear, and that was it. Like, they didn't have to go any further than that, and that's what was concerning. Yeah. It
was a reality check, maybe, potentially. It'll be interesting to see how, if Ten Hag stays, how he bounces back.
Well, that raises the question, though: who would you get to replace him? Because there's only one manager I can think of that I would take potentially.
And who's that?
And that's Tuchel. Really, there's no one else who I'd even think of taking. And is Tuchel one that I would really like to have? Probably not really, but
better than Ten Hag.
It's one of those. Exactly.
So, so Jay says, did we expect him to beat Liverpool? No, but I didn't expect him to lose 3-0 at home and continue. And again, for me, the main annoyance is the post-match stuff, where again, he just refuses to take any form of accountability. And it's like, he even said, it's not a systemic problem, individual errors. So he's like totally, it's like washing his hands of it. This is not my fault. This is not my problem. It's the players' fault, and they need to pattern up. It's like, well, actually, mate, eyes in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror, whatever phrase I'm trying to look for there. Last season, United's expected points tally put them in like lower mid-table. Yeah, that is the level that we are working with. So a dose of reality might be nice for this guy, because it's. I mean, I'd have thought 3-0 against your biggest rivals at home would be a humbling experience enough. Clearly not for this guy. Yeah. He's got no shame.
You think so?
He has no shame. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on with United, Gasky? Where do they finish, for example? Now, you said 4th last week. Where do they finish now?
Based on that now, do we lucky to get any European place? Looking at just that. But I don't know. Can they turn it around?
No.
Miracles have happened previously. So I don't know. Like, there's hope.
Guys,
I hope that kills you.
Let us know in the chat where. First of all, so 2-prong question: where are United finishing this season? And then secondly, is Ten Hag lasting the season? So where are United finishing by the end of the Premier League? Does Ten Hag last the season? I personally am going to say no, he won't last the season, and I think that you'll finish 6th.
That's reasonable considering.
I think Ten Hag will get sacked around January. A competent manager will come in and he'll do a bit better. That's the way I'm working. If Ten Hag stays 8th, but I really don't think he's going to last. I'd be staggered. I'd be staggered if that happened. Del says it's going to be 14th. Tom says 8th. Del says 10th actually. Sat by Christmas. Ahmad says 6th. Jack says 7th, and no, he won't last. 21st is Foden, brilliant.
That's my thought process. Is either going to get sacked before Christmas or you'll see the season out.
Yeah,
because if they're going to be either be really bad by Christmas that they sack him, or they're going to turn up and he's still going to be in charge. It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, Broccoli says last. Nick says 8th and would be sacked at the next international break. When is that? Is that near December?
October.
Oh, guys, is that soon? Oh, we'll just have it one now. There's so many.
I think it is.
Quinton says 9th. There we go. Shall I move on to City, Gasky? Have you got your rant out? You happy now? Well, not happy, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Less upset.
But yes.
You got this. You have to watch United for a couple of weeks. That's a positive, right?
I guess so.
You know.
See how this New England manager gets on.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, you have to watch it. Oh yeah, to be fair, this England manager might actually be fun. So
might do. So
we shall see what we see. Big up Rico Lewis. Get that man starting. Speaking of Lewis, let's move on to Man City, shall we? Yes, we shall. Obviously, big result against West Ham. Yeah. Not only because West Ham are a good team, it was away from home. It was also City's trickiest test up until now, not only in terms of the team, actually, I guess technically you would say Chelsea, but more of the composition of the squad. So there was no Savio, who started so well, still no Rodri, still no Foden, who's ill. Grealish had to start, and there's a big question mark about Grealish this season, about whether is he going to step up and rediscover that form from a couple of seasons ago. We're not really going to talk too much about Grealish, because I think I did a whole video about that, a whole stream about that. I personally thought Grealish played really well, so I was happy with that. Obviously, Holland got a hat trick, so that's the thing. I mean,
grass is green, water is wet.
Maybe we will talk about that. But the first thing I want to discuss, though, is this. It's the Foden dilemma. Is the title of the City section. Now, I missed this, but it was yesterday or the day before. Stephen, shout out Stephen, a big City Twitter account did a tweet saying, I apologize for misquoting, something along the lines of, the team looks very good right now. I wonder how Pep will make it so Foden gets into the team and the team still works.
It's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, which I believe was the gist of the question. In my opinion, a fair question, because he's not said, oh, ain't no way Foden's getting into this team. I think it's a legitimate question.
It's like that. It's like that with any team, though, isn't it? Like, if a team's playing really well while the player's out, you can make the same comments. People make the same comments with Rodri. They're winning comfortably. They're playing really well. Does Rodri get back in? You can have the argument with anyone, can't you? Really? So
yeah, and that's not to that's not to denigrate or have a go at a Rodri or a Foden, because in my opinion, obviously, a player like that should be entitled to get into the team. But it's more a testament to and a compliment to Kovacic, who's been playing very well, and the City attackers and midfielders who've been playing very well. So for me, it's more a compliment to the players who are performing, rather than having a go at the players who aren't in the team yet. That's the way I interpret it. It's almost like it's almost like a rhetorical question. Does Rodri even get back into the team? Because Kovacic is playing so well. It's like, well, yeah, he does, because he's Rodri, but it's nice to talk about how good Kovacic is playing.
You've also got to mention, because Foden won awards last season, how good he was. So
yes, and this is where I think the question arises, because every single player, no matter who they are, has to fight for their place. The reason why Kevin De Bruyne is almost like first name on the team sheet isn't because he's called Kevin De Bruyne. It's because he performs to Kevin De Bruyne standards and levels. In the same way that, so when people are looking at that question and looking at it, can Foden get into the team or whatever, they are viewing it through the lens of, and in fact, I am viewing it through the lens, because my answer is yes, he does get into the team. For me, it's a no-brainer. I still think the question's valid. The lens I'm viewing it through is, well, last season he was Player of the Year, and he was City's best player, obviously, and he was the main reason why we won the title, of course. So he was our best player last year, in my opinion. So it's almost like, of course he's there. But it's also a question of, again, he's got to earn that play. So, for example, if he gets into the team now, let's say, for argument's sake, I think we play Brentford next. So let's say you pop him into the team. Let's say you do a straight swap of him and Bernardo, and he starts, but he doesn't play well. Then he's almost like at a level. He's not lost all the credit in the bank he got last season. But is what I'm saying making sense? It's almost like no one is safe.
Well, exactly. Like when you got to look at it from, like you were saying about the lens you look into, you've got to look as well. Someone's got to come out for him. So Are you punishing someone for playing well? That's how you can look at it. Or is it the matter of, he is arguably one of City's top 3 players. But
Mm.
if Bernardo Silva's playing immensely, why make the team? Because it technically does make the team suffer when you're taking out someone who's playing really well just to put someone in. It's unfair on the player taking out. So like you say, so when you've got so many games coming up, he's like you say, you've got to earn his place. So he's gonna have to, it might be a cup game he plays where he earns his place. It might be where he does rest Bernardo and you play him in. Either or, it's like with like saying with Grealish. Grealish has took his chance when he started.
Mm.
So could it be a situation where Grealish starts the next game, Savio starts on the bench? Maybe. But it's not punishment, it's earning you, like you say, it's earning in your place.
And I think that's because we're now at the stage where I'm now comfortable that Foden, because obviously I've watched his development since forever. I'm now at the stage where I'm comfortable that Foden is just an established senior player. He's no longer a youth player who needs to be protected. He needs to be used correctly, of course, but we're not at the stage where we need to try to gift him minutes or gift him opportunities. He's and appreciative. Oh well, of course he can't. It's not fair to expect him to compete with Gundogan and Bernardo and Kevin De Bruyne, and David Silva, which is what it was a few years ago. Now we're at the stage where no, like Foden needs to be performing, and there's no doubt in my mind that he will perform if started. For me, again, I appreciate that Bernardo Silva's been playing very well. I'm not underselling what he does for the unit because it's absolutely fantastic what he does do. But for me, I just think it's as simple as a straight swap between the two. Because again, Bernardo's great, but Foden is now in 2024 the better player. Of course, you'll lose something that Bernardo's offering, but conversely, you'll gain something that Foden's offering. They're not the same player. Therefore, it's not really an issue that they aren't a like-for-like change. This also assumes that City play the exact same system, doesn't it? Like, we might change it. We might do a totally different thing. We might do what we did, against West Ham the game of the season last year, where it was Foden, Rodri, Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Doku, all in the same team. So it can clearly work. It's not a case of you put Foden in, the team dynamic is destroyed. I don't buy that. But it is important to consider the notion that he's not going to get any gifts here, rightly so. You do have to fight for your place and earn your place. So I think it's a legitimate question to ask. For me, the answer is yes, but I think it's a fair question.
Oh, definitely. Like you look at the lineups this season with City. Playing Savio and Doku is very much different than playing Grealish and Doku. It's much more direct. Whereas with Grealish, it's like having that extra man in midfield. There was instances in that West Ham game where I'm pretty sure De Bruyne was playing on the wing.
Yes.
Half the time. He was over there with him. So, whereas in previous games when Savio and Doku were playing, I don't think De Bruyne was out wide that often in comparison. So clearly it's a tactic thing and it works. And the reason City win so many trophies and so many league titles is the depth they've got. So it does mean that these players like Foden, who are some of the best in the world, that aren't going to play every minute. But that's just because of how good the squad is.
Yeah, of course. And there will be plenty of games, of course there will, but there is nevertheless an established starting 11. There's no doubt in my mind that end of the season, Foden will be in that starting that starting 11 for City. He's been unfortunate in that he obviously the first game against Chelsea was never going to start because he shouldn't have even seen the pitch that day. He only came on because Savio got injured, and it's a shame for him. The next two games he was ill. But we're literally only 3 games in. This isn't like the treble winning year where Foden wasn't involved in the starting team come the end of it because he got appendicitis in around December. It was around December or January or whenever it was. By the time he came back into the team, it was around February, March, and that was when City were on their massive winning streak, and it was in like the closing stages of the title race, and then you don't change a winning team.
You don't risk it.
Yeah, but we're early enough where it's obviously it's something that needs to be done in terms of getting Foden into the team. I'm very, very convinced, City's best starting 11 contains Foden in it, 100%. Let me see what you guys are saying, though. Quincy says, I think this is in reference to Stephen. He said, there is a natural balance to the team. I'd love to see how Pep gets him back into this team. Yeah, of course. Whilst maintaining balance, I think that was the point there. Nick says City play 2 games a week. Pep already said he'll rotate heavily. Of course, that'll be a thing, but it's about the best players want to play the most important games. That's why Alvarez, despite playing more minutes than nearly everyone, wasn't happy because he wasn't playing in his position and he wasn't playing in the important games in that position he wanted to. Tom says, I don't think there is a dilemma here. Pep said, now we're playing every 3 day squad's going to be needed. He'll play plenty of games. And of course, yeah, I'll repeat, he'll play plenty of games, but the question is, will he be in the main...
So, for example, is he playing Carabao Cup games? I don't think anyone's
or like home against Brentford.
Yeah.
Will he? I know he played home against Arsenal soon, so maybe that'll be too early for him. But will he play away at Anfield? That is the question of: are you? Does the manager view you as the main guy? Does he start you in the trickiest games, or is he rotating you? And are you starting at home against Ipswich? Are you playing at home against Everton, for example? So that'll be the thing. Again, for me, it will happen. B says Foden current player of the year, walks into the team just like Rodri. Also, Foden comes into current lineup before Bernardo. Yeah, I agree with the Bernardo one 100%. Tom says agreed, straight in and out for Bernardo. Jack says Palmer, Watkins, and Foden have withdrawn from the England squad. Oh, so the Foden one doesn't surprise me. Watkins and Palmer though, Gasky. Interesting.
I mean, this is what happens, isn't it? You're playing Nations League against Ireland and Finland. Is it worth the risk?
Oh, is it Nations League? It's not friendlies. It's Nations League.
No, Nation League. Yeah.
We got relegated.
We got relegated to League B, so it's not playing anyone difficult. So.
Oh my god. EK Tran says nobody could manage Man United. Gasky would do a better job than Ten Hag. Let's be honest.
Do you know what?
Just have to shave the remaining hair and sort it.
Maybe that's the issue. Maybe ball managers can't do it at United.
Is that a thing?
Balding. Maybe it's balding managers do better.
Emma says Pep loves Bernardo. He does, and again, I love Bernardo as well. I love Bernardo as well. He's a wonderful player. But I would rather if you got Team A and Team B, and let's say that Team A is Bernardo, Team B's got Foden, and they both operate at similar levels or there or thereabouts. I'd rather have the one with Foden in it, and I'd also wager the one with Foden in it would operate at a better level. Anyway, obviously very different players.
And it's a more long-term player like Bernardo. How many times have you heard that Bernardo wants to leave or might be leaving, whereas Foden is City through and through? So you'd rather have that player playing if it's the same impact.
Yes, exactly. So that's the Foden situation. Maybe I should say Foden's situation is probably a better question. Dilemma is just a fun word, so I thought I'd use it.
It's more exciting to say dilemma.
Exactly. And it might not just be Bernardo. Maybe as you mentioned, Grealish played far more centrally than out wide. Maybe you could have Foden in that Grealish position, or the same on the right side, or whatever. For me, there's lots of options. There's loads of different systems. And if assuming that Foden plays to the levels of last season, then it would be mental to not start him because he was the best player in the league last year. So it doesn't even become a question. But again, I'd rather Foden be in the situation where maybe he feels he has to prove it rather than just be like, oh yeah, I'll be gifted this starting line, because then that leads to complacency, and I want Foden to keep pushing himself and become an even better version of himself. But yeah, Haaland got a hat-trick, obviously. This guy's just...
Yeah. Even what's his name? Even so Nunes had a good game when he came on as well.
Nunes, yeah, did well.
Maybe maybe a wide player is what you could do.
Exactly, that's maybe where he can get them. That's maybe where he can get some minutes. Just quickly on Hall and then Gasky. He's the best striker in the world. Yes,
he's a goal a game now, isn't he? In the league.
What, across his Premier League career?
I think in the Premier League he's goal a game now, isn't he?
I think it's more than a goal a game, to be honest. By one or two, I think. I think it might be 71 and 69.
Yeah, of course he's the best striker in the world.
Something ridiculous.
You can argue what is a striker all you want, but Haaland is literally a striker.
Is he the best striker in Premier League
history? If he carries on, he's getting there.
Let's, for argument's sake, because it's far too early.
Here's one for you then. How many games do you have to play to be considered like a great of the Premier League, and what do you have to be at? Because you can't have one season and score 30 goals and be a great.
this is why for me Luis Suarez is not in the conversation because he was only here for 3.5 years.
Exactly, like it's a good stint, but
at least
like you have to have 5 years.
At least 5 seasons for you to be entertained in the all-time Premier League.
5
list.
years consistently good. But then it's that thing with Haaland. Is he that good that you can then go ahead of your own rule?
Let's for argument's sake say that Haaland continue. I don't know what the so Dell says 1769, Den says 1769. Thank you. This is in the league. So let's say that by the end of this year, I think he's going to get 100 by the end of this year, to be honest. So, and at 30 from this point.
What, 100 goals?
Overall in the Premier League.
In the calendar year?
30 more Premier League goals in the remaining games.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So he's going to hit 100 in 100, give or take.
Yes. So let's say that. So, and then how many games would it be? In like 5
If he hits 100, so he's got
however many it is. Let's say 5 to 6 games, 5 to 6 seasons, and he's basically consistently at averaging a goal a game for 5 seasons.
Yes.
For
5 seasons. Yeah, so 5 seasons would be 190 games. If my quick maths is right, 190 games in Premier League. So if he's above 180, then he's the greatest, I would say.
Well, let's average it out and say that he plays 30 games a season. So that's 150.
Right. So he gets matches.
So around 150 goals in around 150 games. That's just after 5 years. Where are we? Because at that point, I love Aguero, but at that point, you've probably got to say, I mean, this is mental. He's got to be ranked better than Aguero at that point.
Again, you come to the discussion, don't you, that him and Aguero are very different types of players.
Of course.
Aguero assists a lot more. But yeah, in terms of out and out striker, if you've got 150 goals in 150 games, it's hard to compete. It's hard to argue.
Would he be a better striker than Thierry Henry at that point?
I would say so.
Oh, Gasky said it.
Striker,
not me.
Out and out striker, yeah. But could you come to the argument again that what type of player are you? Henry offered a lot more than Haaland does, but if I want a striker, you want Haaland. If he's scoring 150 and 150.
Guys. Let's argue. 5 seasons in, so there's been enough time. There's been enough time.
So in 3 more. How many is it? 2 years. He's had 2 seasons at City, hasn't he? So
yeah,
3 more. If he's at City for 3 more years, so 3 more seasons, including this one.
Yes.
So 2 more after this, and he needs to score 80 more goals.
Which if he does that, guys,
so at the going rate, yeah.
If he does that, guys, does he go down as the best striker in Premier League history, or do we need to see more from him? Do we need to, I don't know, see?
Well, let's say he'd definitely be top 3, no doubt. If he's there, because who would the top 3 be then? Because he'd easily get it.
Henry, Aguero, Rooney, Drogba. These are some of the names that people might say.
Yeah.
Is he better than Rooney at that point, Gasky? Is he a better player than Rooney at that point?
Player? See, that's different. See, they're 2 different questions. Better striker, better player.
I thought I'd be cheeky and ask that.
See, a better player, I'd have to be biased and say no. Okay. Striker, yes.
Okay, fine. That's fine.
Rooney was a bloody good striker.
No, he was indeed. Well, maybe in a couple of years down the line on NobCast, I can get Gasky to say that he's a better player. We'll see.
What if 5 years' time when we've got our play buttons in the background and we're like, Haaland's the best. When he's still at City in 8 years and he's broken Shearer's record, then I'll say it.
Tom says Big Earl coming for his own record. Absolutely. Genuine question. After the international games, and if everyone's fit, could we do a 4-2-3-1 formation with a flat 4 and then Foden as the main attacking midfielder? I would doubt that, Quinton, just because flat 4s aren't really going to be beneficial for Haaland. So I doubt that will be a thing, to be honest. A big up to Martin, by the way, from the Mancunian Way. Absolute boy. Met him in person the other week. Lovely, lovely chap. Although I did already know he's a lovely chap, but it's just nice for that to be confirmed. Jack on the Haaland question asks, does breaking multiple records a season speed up that process? Of course, I think it would, yeah, because if you're instrumental in winning the treble, if you're instrumental, so that would be, so again, let's add on to that, again, more hypotheticals. What if City win the title because of those goals this season, 5 in a row? and the season after that, 6 in a row, and the season after that'll be 7 in a row. So basically, Haaland coming in would have created this dynasty.
Yeah, and you have to also look at not just the argument of the striker. You have to have the argument of other players. If Foden is instrumental in coming years, if they're going to win the next 3 league titles, you've got to then have discussions about where he ranks. De Bruyne, if he's there in a couple more years, you've got to argue where he ranks because he doesn't do it on his own, Haaland scoring goals.
Indeed. Very good point. Very, very good point. Dennis is the best striker ever. Still got a way to go for me to get to R9 levels, but hey, he's beating R9 numbers right now.
Yeah, if anything tells you how good R9 was, the fact that he was injured quite a lot and people still say that he was that good.
Exactly. If it was, R9 without injuries probably would be beyond Haaland, but given what actually happened, there's a very good chance that Haaland, over the course of his career, because we're just talking about 5 seasons, but what if he stays in the Premier League for 10 overall? And, or whatever, wins multiple Champions League, or goes to another club, wins Champions Leagues there, etc., etc. This is craziness.
Exactly.
It's craziness. Teab says, LNobbins is glowing. Have you been on the sunbeds? No, I have not, Teab. I'll take that as a compliment, though. Thank you. Also asks, how's Gasky coping after Sunday? We did a whole Manchester United segment at the start of the stream. Teab would really recommend going back.
I had a bottle of whiskey and everything. Drowning my sorrows.
Tom says he's already a Premier League great because of the treble season, but to be in the conversation best ever, yeah, I agree, Tom. But this is why I'm now not reluctant to do it, but a couple of years ago, everyone was saying Van Dijk, best centre-back in Premier League history. And I was like, whoa, chill. He's had like 3 elite seasons. That's not enough for me. Let's reel it in and then wait. Now he has had the season.
It's like that with any player, yeah. Like Van Dijk has had the years to be like putting him in like these Premier League 11s. The debate's less of a debate now.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas a couple of years ago, I was like, he's chill.
You can't, can you? Because then you'd have arguments about strike. If a striker could easily come in the Premier League and put 50
Michu in his first year. What
did he? Did he get 32 or something, or something stupid like that?
It wasn't quite that many, but he was doing it for bloody Swansea. Yeah,
he was carrying. That was the carry.
Yeah, or Papi Cisse at Newcastle that season where he popped off and went mental.
Papi Cisse and Bar at Newcastle.
Yeah, mental. Absolutely mental. Yeah, Jack says we are Bayern Munich. We are PSG. It's just, but also the thing to note is because I know you caveat it by saying striker, and you're absolutely right to do that. In terms of goal scorer, it's objective. He is the greatest goal scorer in football history as things stand.
What?
Based on his age.
What statistic did you go off of a goal scorer? How many goals you scored in how many games?
Exactly.
He's scoring a goal a game.
This season, in those early days, his overall play has been the best it's ever been. So he's adding strings to his, he's sharpening the arrows.
He's dropping deep and picking the ball up and whatnot. He's much better.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's an exciting time to be a City fan, and we discussed this on the last podcast. City weren't even making the most of him. Now we're actually trying to play to him.
Look at it now.
Guys, don't go anywhere because we've got some very good viewer questions, supporter questions. These come from our Patreon supporters. You can also become a YouTube member if you would like to, and leave a comment now, and we can add these to the questions.
It's worth it. It's
£3 a month. You also get lots of other lovely perks. I'd recommend it because I get the money. So yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah. I do this for free. So you know.
So Suri, for example, one of our beautiful members, thank you so much, Suri, asks a question here. What would it take for Haaland to become City's greatest ever player? Now, for me,
I think what we stated, to be fair, what we stated, if he's still here in 2 more years after the season and City win 2 out of the 3 titles minimum, then he's the greatest, isn't he? Is it hard to?
We're talking, and we're talking Ballon d'Ors, I think, as well, just to like solidify it, or have Ballon d'Or winning seasons.
He'd get one if he's consistently still scoring. He will get next year's Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, for me, I think Kevin De Bruyne is our greatest ever player. It was David Silva. Now it's Kevin De Bruyne. I think for me, he's overtaken Silva. So. He'd have to overtake De Bruyne. So a long way to go because for me, De Bruyne's best midfielder in Premier League history. He'd probably have to solidify himself as Because I see Henry and De Bruyne at the
That's a
same
debate.
table.
No, that's a debate, but I agree. I think De Bruyne is the best midfielder the Premier League's had.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah.
more modern style, like back what 10, 15 years ago. I didn't think there was no such thing as a number 10. But he is you could say he's the greatest number 10 ever, because there isn't really has been others.
And yeah,
really.
just everything, to be honest. And that's someone who is a Scholes fan as well, so that warrants the glasses
Well,
going on.
Because that's pretty much what De Bruyne is doing now. Is kind of the Scholes thing.
Yeah, exactly. He's going back,
isn't
and
he? So
he's 2007 Paul Scholes. We out here.
Exactly, he's doing a bit of both, and yeah,
we are out here. Toby, an Arsenal fan, has a question here. Top 3 right backs in the league. Obvious names that will be around there are people like Trent, Reece James, Walker, Ben White. I said Walker, etc. But take everything into account. Things like injuries count. It's not just a hypothetical. Now, we're not talking about ever, because Kyle Walker is the answer. We are talking about now who are the 3 best right backs. Trent is obviously the best by a considerable margin.
Yes.
Who goes?
It's quite ironic considering how many conversations we had about Trent last season.
No, but this is the great thing. Trent at the time deserved that criticism, but he's gotten a lot better defensively, in my opinion.
He's proved it. So.
Yeah, like we said last year or the year before, he's not defending particularly well. Like, how can he be considered like the best right back as a defender? Yeah. But he's doing really good defensively as well. So I don't think it's a case of we were wrong. He's changed, I think.
It's a difficult question, though. Like, top 3. So the next 2.
Yeah, names in the chat, please. Who are the 3 best right backs in the Premier League? So we're locking in Trent at number 1. That's fair.
Right.
Kyle Walker's not in the conversation in 2024.
Right. Oh yeah, because he's done.
We're talking about now. Now. So Rico Lewis, shout out. Dallo, Pedro Porro, Ben White.
I wouldn't put Dallo in. Yeah, Porro, Ben White. Yeah, I probably put Ben White second currently. I can't think of anyone else who would be anywhere near him.
Toby says, you got to take into account everything. This is why Reece James ain't making this list. This lad is forever injured.
Exactly. Like, okay, you could play well 3 games a season. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that ain't good enough. So Reece James isn't going in my team. I'd love to put in Lewis, but I think it's far too early for that. I think Ben White is probably number 2.
I'm trying to think of a right backs. Who else is there?
Is there anyone obvious that we're missing?
Probably are. Well, that Gusto's crap. That's not him.
He was good last season, but he's not starting.
It was all right last season, and now he can't beat the first man with a pass. Who else is there now? I'm trying to think of teams. Who's Villa's right back?
I'm trying to think of teams, he says.
Who's Villa's right back?
His name evades me. I think the correct answer is probably Trent.
Cash.
Cash. It's Trent, and then it's Ben White, and then it's probably Porro or someone like that.
Yeah, probably Porro.
I would love to say Rico Lewis, but he's only and he has started. And we're not talking about this season. We're just talking about taking into account everything. Yeah. I think that's probably a fair top 3. Although I do like Dallo, I must say that. But
on his day, yeah.
Yeah, but would you, as a United fan, would you say Porro's better?
These, I would say so. Yeah, Dallo's days don't come often enough. I mean, at the end of the season, touch wood, you could have Mazraoui in the conversation, because I think he's been pretty good to start with. So
this is
potentially
Mr. Massive Favor says Trent is good. He ain't no Richard Edgehill though, so he was our fullback in the '99 playoff final. So I saw him at the Etihad on the last day of the season. Saw Richard Edgehill. I was like, all right, mate. I didn't say all right, mate. I was like, oh, there he is. It was quite funny.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Just because my uncle spotted him. He was like, I know him. Who is that? I was like, oh yeah, I was Edge. I was like, oh yeah, I couldn't get his name. I think he was thinking of Crook, who was our other fullback that day. Shout out, Mr. Massive Favor with a throwback there. Good question by Toby. Jack says I'm having Pedro Porro for Ben White. Crazy. No, it's not unreasonable, to be fair.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Ben White as a person when you look at like comments he makes and stuff like that.
No, but as a player,
football inability, you wouldn't. It's difficult.
Nan says a quick question here. Do you think due to relative inactivity this transfer window, Jan will be busier than usual? I don't think so, to be honest.
Well, it's never really. No. It depends on. I guess it depends on team situations, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think the current PSR landscape is what's limiting sides, to be honest. Yeah. Not wanting to do it. Who wins in a scrap, Ben 10 or Iron Man? Did you ever watch Ben 10?
Not heavily.
No, but you know the concept.
I mean, couldn't he just transform into something that?
Yes, I believe he
just
has a
push metal?
watch and it turns him into aliens.
Oh, yeah.
So probably Ben 10, because I
So-
imagine one of those aliens is going to bop
He
Tony
can do what he
Stark.
wants.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd probably go for him. And then Will says, thoughts on Southampton placed on how Russell Martin is woke nonsense. Southampton are just doomed to get relegated because
They haven't done what have they signed? Who have they signed?
they're trying to play fun football, and it's like you can't, not in this league with those players.
Yeah, they might compete with United then.
So that is not happening. DR, who is from Iraq, would you rather live in Iraq and get paid £100 million a year, get paid £10 million a year to live in Japan, or get £1 million to live in England? Now, I'm going to say that whatever country you lock in, you're not allowed to like just go, I'll live in Japan for a year, get 10 million and move back to England.
So you have to.
You've got to stay there. You can go on holidays.
To stay there for. Oh, yeah, you can stay. You have to live there predominantly.
Exactly.
Right. I'd probably say Japan.
Fair. So he's going to abandon me?
I'd go down the middle.
He's going to abandon me. Fairs, man.
Have you seen the state of this country?
Yeah, crazy.
I'm not getting political on this podcast, but have you seen the state of this country?
I'm going to go for £1 million, live in England, because that question, the way I've interpreted that question is basically, I value my connections more than £9 million a year. That's how I interpret that question.
You're getting paid £1 million a year to carry on doing what you're doing.
Exactly. I'll just I can easily live off £1 million and be close to my family and friends. Unlike you, Gasky, which is like, oh, I'll take the money.
I'm a sellout.
What a little.
I do it for the money.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then I think we had one more question from Suri in the chat. That's all the questions from the Patreon. Great questions, guys. Who's been the greatest? So this will be the last question, then we'll wrap up. Who's been the greatest player for the badge in City's history and United's history? Wonderful. That's a brilliant question.
For the badge.
Yeah, like Scott McTominay, for example.
Cult hero.
But he heart on his sleeve, plays for the club, he plays for the badge. The club is in his
Under
DNA.
Herrera as well. He was like that.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Ooh.
Gary Neville, is he your choice?
Yeah, but I mean, these players like that, like Paul Scholes as well, like these players like that who are much better. But
who was the greatest for the badge player? Specifically for they may have been shit, but they played for the badge.
Yeah,
Hannibal.
I'm trying to think of anyone other than Rooney.
Rooney is a good answer.
I'm trying to think of. I can't think of anyone other than Rooney. I'm missing.
I like the Zabaleta shout from a City perspective. Fernandinho's another good shout, Paolo. But like Zabaleta literally just like bleeds blue blood, like and just like he literally like bled for this club. So I probably would agree with that and go for him. Oh, Ronan says Roy Keane. That's a very good shout.
Roy Keane's a good one.
Yeah.
But again, he did everything for United and he just fell out with Fergie and then it was never United again.
Yeah. Jason Park here. That's another.
Jason Park he was a fucking grafter.
That's a really good answer. Yeah.
Grafter.
Really good question, sorry. Thank you so much for that.
It is a good question.
And that's the beauty of being a YouTube member, guys. So if you want to click that join button, so click that join button, or there will be a link in the video description. You can support me, get a loyalty badge, get lots of lovely perks, get emotes, have your name in gold when we do our post-mortems and watch-alongs, and you also get to ask questions to us in these knob gas sections.
Worth every penny.
Gasky. And you also get to support me, so it is very nice. So if you can afford,
it's always me with you, isn't it?
If you can afford and you'd like to do it against £3 a month, do make sure to click that join button to help support the channel. And hey, if we get enough members, maybe I'll give Gasky a wage. Who knows? I'm not going to give him a wage. He's going to be my slave.
Don't get me any glasses like that though, please. I don't want to like John.
Oh, my stream has died. Oh, there we go. It is back. That was weird. Hopefully you guys can still hear me and us. I was about to wrap up anyway. The stream just died. My internet just died for a second. That was really weird. Kevin Horlock, that's a really good one as well. Vincent Company as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like on the video as you leave. We'll be back next week. Really good to see you guys still enjoying these shows. Until next time, guys, I've been NobBins.
I've been Gasky.
And we'll catch you all